Picture this. You're standing at a podium. Dozens of eyes are fixed on you. You've done this before. You know your material cold. And then you feel it. Your hands start to shake, not slightly, visibly. The papers rattle. You grip them tighter, and that somehow makes it worse. And the entire time, some part of your brain is screaming at you that there is absolutely no reason for this. You're not in danger. Nobody is threatening you. You're in a conference room with fluorescent lighting and a PowerPoint presentation. So why is your body behaving like something is trying to kill you? The answer goes back roughly 200,000 years. And once you understand it, the shaking starts to make a terrifying kind of sense. Let's start with what's actually happening inside your body the moment the trembling begins. The second your brain registers a threat, real or imagined, it sends a signal to your adrenal glands. Those glands, sitting just above your kidneys, dump adrenaline into your bloodstream almost instantly. Within seconds, your heart rate can jump by 50 to 100%. Your breathing accelerates. Blood gets rerouted away from your digestive system and redirected to your large muscle groups. Your pupils dilate. Your senses sharpen. Your body is doing something very specific. It's preparing you to either fight something or run from it as fast as your legs will carry you. That entire cascade happens before your conscious mind has time to weigh in. It's not a choice. It's a program. And it's running on hardware that hasn't been updated in 200,000 years. Here's what's fascinating about the shaking specifically. When adrenaline floods your muscles and forces them into a state of high alert, those muscles tense up hard and fast. They're primed to contract at maximum force on a moment's notice. But sustained tension without release causes something interesting. The muscles begin to fatigue and microtremor, oscillating rapidly because they're caught between the instruction to stay ready and the reality that there's nothing to actually do. Your hands shake because the small muscles in your fingers and palms are particularly sensitive to adrenaline. They respond faster and more visibly than larger muscle groups. So, what you see as trembling hands is actually your body's most ancient operating system, running a program designed for a world that no longer exists around you. Think about what that system was actually built for. For the vast majority of human existence, a threat wasn't a performance review or a job interview or a room full of people watching you speak. A threat was a leopard. A threat was a rival group crossing into your territory with weapons. A threat was something that could end your life in the next 30 seconds if you didn't move immediately. The fight or flight response was calibrated for exactly those situations. Increased heart rate delivered more oxygen to your legs so you could sprint. Muscle tension primed your body for explosive, immediate action. The shaking was probably useful. Muscles primed to that level of readiness generate faster, more powerful contractions when you actually need them. The trembling wasn't a malfunction. It was the system working perfectly. The problem is that natural selection didn't design this system with any way to tell the difference between a predator and a public speaking engagement. Your amygdala, the small almond-shaped structure deep in your brain that functions as a threat detection center, processes incoming signals and makes a threat assessment before the rational parts of your brain have any input. And here's what the amygdala sees when you walk up to a podium. Dozens of faces oriented toward you, evaluating you, holding social judgment over your reputation, and standing within the group. For a social primate whose survival for hundreds of thousands of years depended entirely on remaining in good standing within the tribe, that is not a trivial situation. Being rejected from the group meant dying alone. The amygdala doesn't read the room and conclude that it's 2026 and you'll probably be fine. It sees potential threat and pulls the alarm. This is not an exaggeration. Researchers studying social anxiety have found that the brain's response to social evaluation activates the same fear circuitry as responses to physical danger. The same structures fire. The same hormones release. The same body-wide cascade unfolds. We often talk about social anxiety as though it's an irrational overreaction, a glitch, something broken in the people who experience it most severely. But that framing gets the biology completely backwards. The response isn't broken. It's working exactly as designed. What's broken is the fit between that design and the world we actually live in now. The hardware is 200,000 years old. The software hasn't shipped an update since the Paleolithic. And here's the part nobody talks about. The system that causes your hands to shake was probably a genuine competitive advantage for most of human history. The individuals whose stress responses were fastest and most powerful were the ones who survived dangerous encounters. They passed those genes along. Across countless generations, natural selection didn't reward calm. It rewarded speed of response. The people in your ancestry who reacted the most explosively to perceived threats were the ones who lived long enough to become your ancestors. You are, in a very real sense, the descendant of the most anxious survivors on the planet. That sensitivity wasn't a liability. It was the reason they made it. Consider what happens when a zebra detects a lion. The stress response activates immediately, before the zebra has consciously processed the information. Heart rate spikes. Blood floods the leg muscles. The animal is already moving before it fully registers why. That speed is the difference between life and death when the margin is measured in seconds. Now consider that your nervous system is running the same fundamental program. Your hands shake at a podium for the same core reason the zebra bolts at a shadow. Something in the environment triggered a threat signal, and the body responded before it had time to check whether the threat was real. The zebra doesn't debate whether the shadow is actually a lion. It runs. Your body doesn't debate whether the audience is actually dangerous. It prepares. There's a feedback loop that makes this particularly difficult to escape once it starts. The moment you notice your hands shaking, you become aware of the symptom itself. That awareness creates a second layer of threat. Now, you're not just anxious about the presentation. You're anxious about the trembling, about whether the audience can see it, about what they'll conclude from it. That second layer of anxiety triggers another round of adrenaline release, which deepens the trembling, which heightens the awareness, which feeds the cycle further. It's a system designed to escalate in the presence of a threat, and noticing your own fear response gets interpreted by the amygdala as confirmation that the threat is serious. The body doubles down. About 40 million adults in the United States experience some form of anxiety disorder. That number sounds enormous until you understand that what we're calling a disorder is really just a sensitivity distribution. Some people's threat detection systems are calibrated more sensitively than others. For most of human history, that calibration on the higher end was almost certainly protective. The world contained more genuine threats, and a nervous system that fired quickly and powerfully was an asset. What changed wasn't the nervous system. What changed was the environment around it. We built a world that is, in most measurable ways, the safest humans have ever lived in, and we left our brains completely unprepared for it. Here's what's remarkable about this when you actually sit with it. The same body that trembles before a job interview contains a system that, 200,000 years ago, was genuinely keeping your ancestors alive. When a member of an early human group felt their hands shake before a confrontation with a rival, that trembling was the beginning of a response that may have saved their life. The adrenaline was real. The threat was real. The preparation was useful. Now that same cascade fires in conference rooms and school hallways and on first dates. The system can't tell the difference. It was never built to. It was built for a world that still required everything it had to offer every single day. So the next time your hands shake before something that matters to you, before a conversation that makes you nervous, before a moment where you feel exposed and watched and evaluated, what you're feeling is 200,000 years of survival engineering doing exactly what it was designed to do. The trembling isn't weakness. It's ancient. It's the same signal that kept your great-great-grandmother alive in a world where the threats were real and the cost of missing them was everything. Your body doesn't know the threat has changed. It only knows that something important is happening, and it refuses to let you face it unprepared.